The first flash of lightning doesn't just split the sky, it carves the field into two worlds, the one Caleb Hart knows, and the one he steps into when he hears the scream. Short, cut off, carried by wind and rain. He turns his headlamp toward the dirt road that cuts past his south pasture. The beam rakes over a dented mailbox, a fence post, the jittering silhouettes of cottonwoods, and there, a figure stumbling through the ditch, one arm out, the other around her belly. The wind tears her coat open. She staggers, slips, catches herself on barbed wire with a hiss of pain he feels in his own skin. "Hey!" Caleb shouts, voice snatched thin by the storm. Another lightning stroke. White daylight. Mud filmed across her cheeks like war paint. She's young, very pregnant. Her eyes are too wide, as if the night itself presses fingers against her ribs. He wades into the ditch. The cold water climbs his boots, slips inside and bites bone. His dog, Rook, a black and tan mutt with a scar over one eye, bounds beside him. "Easy," Caleb says, palms out. "I got you. I can't," she gasps, breath shivering. "The car spun out. My phone." She looks around, as if the word itself could raise it from the dark. "Road's a mess," Caleb says. "Come on now." He slips an arm around her and feels the hard curve of her stomach. The child answers with a kick against his forearm. Life, urgent and unambiguous. Another flash. This time, the light catches something at her throat, a small gold medal on a chain turned sideways by the wind. On its face, a shield engraved with a tree whose roots curl into a ring, and above it, 3 tiny stars. Caleb's chest tightens. He knows that seal. He shouldn't. Men like him don't brush shoulders with old money, not even in this county where everyone pretends to be modest. But any kid who grew up around here knows the stories. The Whitmore family, the stone house with 12 chimneys, the patron saint of their fortune stamped into silverware and letterhead, and the crest carved into the courthouse bench like the county itself, wears their signature. He doesn't say the name. He only sees the crest and feels, with a sudden clarity that stands the hair on his arms, that tonight is not just weather. It is decision, rain needles. Rook whines at their feet. The woman grips Caleb's sleeve. "Please," she says, and her voice collapses the distance between strangers. "Please help me." He doesn't ask who she is. Not yet. He turns and half carries her toward the farmhouse that sags under a roof he can't afford to replace. Lightning throws their shadows long across rutted ground. Thunder chases them like hooves. Inside, the kitchen smells of coffee that's gone bitter on the burner and damp wood. Caleb settles her in the chair by the stove, throws a few sticks into the firebox, hears the iron tick as it heats. Rook plants himself by the door, ears up, a statue cut from anxiety and loyalty. Her hands shake. He notices the knuckle scrape, the barbed wire kiss on her palm, the mud under her nails, and the gold medallion that keeps finding the light like it has something to say. "Name?" he asks softly, a towel in his hands. "June," she whispers, eyes on the dark window where rain rivers down the glass. June. The crest gleams once more when she swallows. 3 stars, a rooted tree, and there, in Caleb Hart's chest, something he thinks he lost a while back. Hope, or maybe just the habit of looking past the next bill, stirs like a bird trapped in a barn, banging at the rafters, searching for a door he didn't know he still had the strength to open. Dawn never comes all at once on the plains. It seeps in, a gray grain at the edges, turning rain to mist, mist to breath, breath to the steam off a chipped mug in a quiet kitchen. Caleb's house is one of those places the world forgets to notice until something goes wrong. 1 bedroom, a sagging porch, fences patched with stubbornness and baling wire. There's a banknote on the fridge held by a magnet advertising a hardware store that closed before he was born. There's also a calendar he hasn't turned since May. He keeps telling himself it's not denial if every day looks the same. Work is what he knows. Early chores before the heat, later chores after the heat, and in between the vast arithmetic of drought. How many bales he can squeeze from a stingy field. How many weeks he can get out of a water tank if the wind doesn't drink first. He used to have a partner for these decisions. Life left, and left him the silence. Rook pads around, nails ticking on the boards. The dog's eyes do the watching Caleb avoids. He sleeps in snatches and dreams in chores. And then, last night, the storm, and June. Now, as the first light finds the kitchen's edges, June dozes in the chair, a blanket around her shoulders, rain drying in her hair. The medallion at her throat is clean now. Caleb, brushing mud from her hands earlier, couldn't ask. Not yet. He recognizes the crest too well. The Whitmore Foundation funded the school library his mother loved. The Whitmore lawyers sit on boards and judge competitions and lean against the town's history like they own gravity. If you're new here on the channel, welcome. We tell stories like this: ordinary dirt under fingernails, extraordinary nights that split a life like a lightning seam. If you're listening right now, take a second. Hit subscribe, drop a comment, tell me where you're watching from. These stories travel farther than wind when you do. Maybe you're from a place like this. Maybe you've got your own storm out past your window. Either way, you're here now, and that matters. Caleb's kettle rattles and he pours hot water over coffee grounds in the old enamel pot. He sets a second mug for June. He doesn't have sugar, but he has a steady hand and a way of standing that says, "I'll wait as long as it takes." When she wakes, her eyes are already listening. She sips, winces at the bitterness, then takes another anyway, because it is warm, because warmth is a kind of answer. "You're safe here," he says. "I'll call Doc Reeves, he'll come out." June nods. The movement turns the medallion, and once more the crest meets the light. She sees him notice. Something locks and unlocks in her face. "Do you know what this is?" she asks. Caleb shrugs. "Careful. Looks like a family mark. Old one. My grandmother gave it to me," June says. "She told me to wear it when I needed help." She looks down. "I needed help." Out across the pasture, a crow flings its voice over the wet field. The house ticks as it dries. Somewhere distant, an engine coughs against the morning. A new day is coming, whether anyone is ready. Stories like this aren't about luck. They're about choices made in bad weather and the way the smallest emblem can open the heaviest door. Stay with me, because the thing about roots and rings and 3 tiny stars is that they mean more when the ground starts to move. If you're just joining, don't forget to subscribe and tell us the city on your horizon. It helps more folks find these stories, and it helps me keep the porch light on for nights like this one. Doc Reeves arrives with the road still slick. His truck leaves 2 dark commas up the drive. He's got a stethoscope around his neck and a thermos under his arm. He's been delivering babies and pulling fence staples for 40 years, and he's at ease in both jobs. He checks June's vitals, listens to the steady thunder of the baby's heart, and nods like a metronome. "She's okay for now," he says to Caleb while June rests. "Plenty of time if we're careful, but she shouldn't be alone." "I'm not going anywhere," Caleb says. Rook plants his chin on Caleb's boot. Doc Reeves notices the medallion, blinks, and doesn't comment. Old men know when to let the river talk. June eats toast with a kind of concentration that makes the simple thing holy. When she finishes, her voice is steadier. "I was driving to town," she says, "trying to get to someone who would listen, to anyone not on their payroll." She touches the medallion. "I was adopted when I was a baby. I never looked. I didn't need to. Then everything got complicated." She looks past them into the morning that drips off the porch. "My boyfriend," she says finally, "worked for the Whitmore estate, grounds crew, but he saw things. He told me there were books, ledgers the family kept apart from the official accounts, old money moving in old ways. He said if you knew where to look, the past still owed the present. He thought he found proof that someone was siphoning from a trust meant to support a clinic out in Maple Bend. Said a name, Victor Lang. He's not a Whitmore, but he is their right hand." Doc Reeves makes a sound like he's chewing a nail. "Then my boyfriend disappeared," June says. The words are blunt. "They told me he left. He didn't." She taps the medallion. 2 weeks later, a woman came to the diner where I work nights. Gray hair, blue eyes, the exact shade of mine. She said her name was Agnes. She said she used to be a Whitmore before she married a man with nothing but 2 hands and a laugh, and they cut her off. She wore this, and when I asked about it, she cried. She told me if I ever needed help, to show it to someone from the county, because everyone here knows. And then she pressed it into my palm and said, "They won't listen to you, but they might listen to this." Caleb breathes in slow. Rain ticks from the eaves like an old clock. "So I was coming to town," June says, "to find the sheriff, or the paper, or anyone who would look. And the storm took the car." Doc Reeves leans against the counter, eyes hooded. "Maple Bend Clinic," he murmurs. "We've been short on supplies 3 quarters in a row. Funding gaps that don't make sense." June looks at him, hope skittish. "You think?" "I think," Doc says, "that whatever this is, you shouldn't be on the road until we figure how to walk it without losing a shoe." They're quiet until the distant engine sound returns. Closer now. Rook's ears spear forward. The air gains a weight it didn't have a minute ago. A white SUV crawls along the county road and slows at Caleb's gate. Even at distance, it looks scrubbed of weather. The doors whisper open. Two men step out, suits too smooth for gravel, eyes scanning the farm like a grocery list. One of them wears a raincoat despite the drizzle having eased. The other keeps a hand in his pocket the whole time, thumb worrying something. A coin, a ring, a habit. June goes still. "That's him," she says, voice paper thin. "That's Victor Lang." Caleb's heartbeat rearranges his ribs. He moves to the window with the particular calm of a man who has seen animals cornered and knows the shape of that day. They knock with knuckles that sound like paperwork. Caleb opens the door halfway. Rook plants himself, a low growl, a steady engine in his chest. "Mr. Hart?" the raincoat man asks. Caleb doesn't answer. "I'm Victor Lang," the man says with a smile that doesn't reach inventory. "We represent the Whitmore family. I'm afraid one of our people went off the road in last night's storm near your property. We're checking on folks." His eyes slide past Caleb's shoulder, inventorying the room, the stove, the mug, the shape of someone in a blanket. "You should check the south ditch," Caleb says evenly. "I pulled a lot of weeds out of there last spring." Lang's smile doesn't move. "May we come in?" "No," Caleb says. There's a pause built to make lesser men adjust their hats. Caleb doesn't fill it. Lang tries again. "We have reason to believe a valuable family heirloom might have gone missing. If we find it returned, there's a generous reward. No questions asked." June's hand lifts to her throat on its own. Caleb shakes his head a hair's breadth, and she freezes. "I don't much keep heirlooms," Caleb says, "unless you count rust." Lang's eyes return to Caleb's face like a magnet to a nail. "Mr. Hart," he says softly, "we help people around here. We pave roads. We fix roofs after storms." He glances at the patched porch. "We take care of our own." "Good to know," Caleb says, not moving. Finally, Lang tips his head in a courtesy that's all math. "If you hear anything," he says, tapping a card against the doorframe. "For your convenience." They leave. The SUV rolls away smooth as if gravel surrenders beneath it. Inside, June exhales hard, then clamps both hands on her belly as if steadying the world from rolling. "That's pressure," Doc Reeves says, eyes on the road. "And we're not even at noon." June looks at Caleb. "I can't run," she whispers. "Not like this." Caleb shakes his head. "No one asked you to." He looks at the medallion. The crest's roots seem to curl a little deeper. The stars brighter. "You came to tell the truth. We'll do that." "How?" she asks. He looks at the old floorboards, at the places where his father's boots wore half-moons by the sink, at the water stains on the ceiling that map old storms, at Rook's steady shape. Somewhere deep in the dirt of this county, the Whitmore ledgers move numbers like tides. Somewhere there is a room where the secret is stored. People like Lang rely on two things, Caleb says finally: fear, and the assumption no one like me knows where to look. He glances at June. "But I listened to the old men who built these fences, and I remember where the Whitmores buried what they didn't want the wind to see." June frowns. "Buried?" Caleb nods toward the horizon. "There's an outbuilding on their north tract. Looks like a spring house. Stone, low door. But there's a root cellar dug beneath it. My dad helped pour the footings back when they refaced the place. Said you could hide a year's worth of winter there, or a lifetime of paper. You wanted to make good on this." He touches the medallion with a finger as careful as prayer. "That'd be where I'd start." Doc Reeves blinks slow. "You can't just walk onto Whitmore land." Caleb's smile is crooked and tired. "Nobody looks for a farmhand at dawn with a shovel. They assume he's fixing what storms break." June grips the blanket. "If there's proof, we don't bring it to Lang," Caleb says. "We bring it to the sheriff and the paper at the same time. We copy it. 10 copies. 100. And if they stop us?" June asks. Rook barks once, deep and decisive, as if answering. The house holds the sound like a vow. Night lifts its elbow off the land by late afternoon. The sky is a bruise turning yellow at the edges. Caleb borrows the look of a man with nothing on his mind but a broken fence. He loads the truck with tools and feed bags. He straps a shovel on top where anyone can see it. Doc Reeves insists on coming. His old shoulders set the way a church door sets in winter. June protests, then relents when they build a plan that keeps her in the safest place. Caleb's house. Doors locked. Rook left behind as her shadow with teeth. "Rook stays," Caleb tells the dog. The dog doesn't like it, but he understands work when he hears it. He curls by June's chair. She threads her fingers through his fur as if braiding courage into a rope. They roll out while the world yaws between light and dark, past the school with the empty swing, past the grain elevator that hums like a tuning fork when the wind hits right, onto the north tracked road, where white stones mark the turn to the Whitmore estate. The house itself rises in the distance, all chimneys and old certainty, but they stop short at the spring house. Stone walls sunk low into earth, moss softening the roofline. 15 minutes, Doc says, voice low. In and out. If anyone asks, fence wire snapped, Caleb says. We don't lie fancy. No locks. The spring house door sticks with damp. Inside it smells like thyme and root cellars, the sweet sour of old wood, the chalky comfort of stone. Caleb finds the trap door where he remembers it. It opens with a sound like a groan turned in a throat. He climbs down. Cold gathers around his ankles, climbs. His headlamp spills a cone. The cellar isn't big, but it's methodical. Shelves built with pride. Jars labeled in a hand that probably made perfect pies and hard decisions. And there, against the far wall, a newer set of metal cabinets that don't belong to any root cellar. Industrial. Lock-faced. One hangs ajar. Caleb's breath goes thin. He crosses, fingers tasting the air for wires, sensors, the shape of a trap. Nothing that plain. He eases the door open. Binders, 3, 4, 5 rows deep. Ledgers with spines stamped in gold. A small safe with a keypad. A box labeled Rec, Arch 1997. The sound of tires on gravel is not loud down here, but it is inevitable. Caleb's bones hear it. He kills the headlamp and crouches. Doc Reeves's voice from above, mild as weather. Evenin', Mr. Lang. Caleb's mouth goes dry. We had a report of trespassers, Victor Lang says from the doorway above, words rolling like steel ball bearings. And here you are. Fence wire snapped. Doc replies with the weary kindness of an old man who has said the same exact words to boys since time began. Caleb's fixing it. Lang's shoes step inside. Careful. Another set follows. Raincoat, or the man with the ring. Their light spills under the trap door. Sweeps. Caleb folds himself into shadow at the end of a shelf and knows something bleak and clean. He can't get out without them seeing. He can only choose how to be seen. The trap door heaves up. Lang's light lances down. Come on up, Mr. Hart. Caleb doesn't move. The beam finds the metal cabinets. Lang inhales in a way not everyone would notice. Oh, he says softly. So you do know where to look. Doc Reeves's silhouette shifts at the doorframe. Victor, he says, voice low. I delivered your youngest. Don't make me ashamed of that. Doc, Lang says, chuckle without humor. You confuse shame with disappointment. I'm disappointed in you. His light moves again. Mr. Hart, if you touch any of those, you're going to learn how quickly a county forgets your name. Caleb stands. He keeps his hands open where the light can read them. He walks into the center of the cellar. Every step a conversation with long-ago courage. Lang smiles, not at Caleb but at what he thinks this means. Up, he says, gesturing with the light. Caleb glances at the cabinets. He sees, with a clarity that feels like someone else's eyes, the phone tucked between a binder and the wall. Doc Reeves's hand sneaking it there when they first came down, hitting record. He also sees the small metal box labeled Rec, Arch 1997, and understands the way labels age. Recce for recovery, reconstruction, or records. Arch for archives, or architect. 1997, the year they rerouted the creek, the year the Maple Bend Clinic expanded its service area, and then somehow shrank it again on paper. Up, Lang says again, impatient now. Caleb looks up like a man measuring rain and says, calm as a porch swing. You ever notice, Mr. Lang, how roots go where they please? You can cut a tree to the stump and those roots will keep drinking. They'll crack stone if they need to. Lang's smile whitens. I'm not here for metaphors. No, Caleb says. You're here for ledgers. The second man moves. The glint in his pocket becomes the blunt suggestion of a weapon. Doc Reeves sucks air through his teeth sharply enough to sting. Easy, Lang murmurs. No one needs to get hurt. Mr. Hart, you're going to hand me the small box on the third shelf, and then you're going to walk up here and forget you ever saw your father help pour footings. Caleb takes a slow step toward the shelf. Another. He reaches for the box. His fingers brush its cool edge. He drops it. Metal on stone is loud in a cellar. It's also simple physics. Caleb lets the box clatter where Lang can see it. In the same motion, he kneels, and his free hand disappears behind the binder, where the phone blinks its patient red eye. He taps the screen with one knuckle. Then he scoops the box up, holding it by the lid, as if even his fingerprints refuse to trust the contents. Careful, Lang says. Too fast. And there it is. The tell. Caleb straightens. He holds the box where the light can see both his hands. This one? He asks, all innocence made from grit. Yes, Lang says. Bring it up. Caleb climbs. At the top, the second man steps closer, the weapon's shadow tired of being polite. Doc Reeves's eyes are two blue fires. Now, Mr. Hart, Lang says, extending a palm. Caleb looks at the box. He looks at Lang. He thinks about June in his kitchen, Rook's head heavy on her knee, the sound of a baby's heart like the drumbeat of a new map. He tosses the box 5 feet to the left. It arcs through the air, metal glinting, lands in a shallow pan of spring water, with a splash that seems to offend Lang more than the idea of God. Instinct yanks both men's eyes after it. Caleb moves. He hits the second man's wrist with the shovel handle that's been leaning just inside the door. The weapon hits the stone. Doc Reeves kicks it beneath a shelf with the speed of a man who once played shortstop and never forgot. Lang swears. The second man lunges. Caleb shoulders him into the doorframe. The springhouse takes the impact like a confession and shudders. In the scramble, Lang's light whips over the shelves and catches the open binder where Doc's phone lies nestled. He sees it. His face does something ugly. He lunges for the trapdoor. Caleb is faster. He plants the shovel blade across the opening, a barrier that turns Lang's forward motion into a graceless fold. For the first time, the polish slips. Victor Lang is not a ghost, he is a man who bruises. Doc, Caleb says evenly, breath hard. Go. Take the binder, take the phone. I'll be behind you. Doc Reeves doesn't argue. He gathers proof with an old man's careful hands, tucks the phone in his pocket, the binder under his arm, and steps into the fading light with more steadiness than the years suggest. Lang finds his feet. His smile returns, but now it has teeth. You think one binder hurts us? He says. We are not a ledger, Mr. Hart. We are the table it sits on. Maybe so, Caleb says, but even tables burn. Lang's eyes flick past him to the road, calculation rearranging his features. You're outnumbered. Not where it counts, Caleb says, and hears, as if the land itself turns its head. Tires on gravel again, headed fast. He thinks June? No. Sheriff? Maybe. Or, his stomach knots, more of Lang's people. Time, Lang whispers, smiling as if he invented it. It likes me more than it likes you. The arriving engine is smaller, lighter, less groomed. It coughs in a familiar way. Caleb's heart unclenches a notch when he hears the uneven idle of his own truck. Rook. The dog flies from the passenger seat the moment the door opens, paws hitting earth like punctuation. And behind him, June, pale but set, one hand on her belly, the other on the dash as she slides down. She shouldn't be here. Of course she is. June! Caleb's voice breaks on her name. No. I'm done being chased, she says, jaw wired with resolve. She points to the road. Another vehicle turns in. Brown, official, dust-streaked. Sheriff Danner's SUV. Lang's gaze flicks left, right, left like a metronome gone frantic. He straightens his coat, flips a switch in his face, and turns to meet the sheriff with the relieved expression of a man welcoming a solution he paid for. Sheriff Danner steps out, hat low, eyes narrower than usual. He takes in the scene. The open springhouse, Doc Reeves with a binder, the second man rubbing his wrist, June braced by the truck, Rook vibrating with intent. Afternoon, Danner says. The word scrapes its knuckles. Sheriff, Lang begins with practiced gravity. We've had a break-in on private property and a theft of confidential documents. This man assaulted my associate. Your associate brought a gun to my county, Doc Reeves says, voice flat as fence wire. Danner's gaze pins the second man's empty holster. Something in the air shifts half a degree. June steps forward. The medallion catches the light, flares. Sheriff Danner, she says, breath steady in a way that controls the tremor. I'm June. I was adopted. 2 weeks ago, Agnes Whitmore gave me this and told me to find help if I needed it. I need it. My boyfriend disappeared after telling me he found proof a trust meant for the Maple Bend Clinic was being siphoned. We found records down there. She points to the springhouse. Victor Lang followed me to Caleb's house this morning. He wants the evidence. He will do anything to get it. Lang shakes his head with a pitying smile crafted for juries. Sheriff, this is a misunderstanding wrapped in hysteria. Doc Reeves raises the binder like a hymn book. Explanations can wait. These ledgers need a chain of custody. Danner's eyes go to the crest on June's throat. For a second, just a second, Caleb sees the boy Danner was sitting in a gym auction whose scoreboard was sponsored by Whitmore, being told who shakes whose hand. Then Danner's gaze shifts to Doc Reeves, who stitched his forehead when he left it on a tractor hitch at 12, who tells the truth even when it doesn't pay, who delivered his daughter in a blizzard with a flashlight and a prayer. Victor, Danner says, and his voice is different now, less gravel, more bedrock. You and your man keep your hands where I can see them. Lang spreads his fingers, the shape of compliance without the substance. Doc, Danner continues, you're gonna hand me that binder slow. Caleb, you stay put. June. He looks at her and something moves in his face like a fish under ice. You shouldn't be out. I'm out, she says. Rook growls, a low broken thunder. The second man shifts. Lang's smile stutters. He sees the arithmetic turning against him and decides to do what men like him do. Change the math. He lunges, not at the binder now but at June. Caleb is moving before his brain names it. Rook launches, teeth finding fabric and forearm. The second man yells. Lang stumbles, checks, reaches for June's wrist for the medallion for the leverage he understands. June steps back and slips. Her hand grabs the fender. Her other hand, pure reflex, closes around the only weapon near her, the tire iron under the truck's bench. Lang's eyes flick to the iron. He recalculates and chooses violence. He surges. Caleb's shoulder meets him halfway. They hit the side of the springhouse together and the old stone grunts. The second man kicks at Rook. Rook doesn't let go. Sheriff Danner draws, voice a bark. Enough. It isn't enough. For a heartbeat, the scene is all parts. Rain-dark stone, breath fog, the iron in June's hand, the slick in Lang's gaze, Doc Reeves' shout, the dog's snarl. Caleb's grip slips on Lang's coat. Lang twists free, shoves Caleb toward the open cellar. Caleb's boot skids on the damp lip. He windmills, catches the doorframe with his fingers. The world tilts. The dark below yawns like a throat ready to swallow. June screams. Lang steps in to finish it. He doesn't get there. June's tire iron meets Lang's wrist with a sound that is a door slamming on a lie. The medallion at her throat flashes like a tiny sun. Lang howls, the first sound tonight that is wholly honest. Rook yanks the second man down by a sleeve. Sheriff Danner presses the muzzle of the law's patience to the back of a neck. Hands spread. Caleb hauls himself upright, breath burning. He looks at June. She is shaking but still upright, belly high, eyes bright with the kind of focus that turns storms. Doc Reeves moves like a man finishing a procedure. He gathers the fallen weapon with a boot, kicks it to Danner. He places a hand on June's shoulder. Easy now, he murmurs, voice finding the room where life continues. Lang cradles his wrist, fury and calculation doing battle in his expression and both losing ground. He looks at June as if she committed sacrilege by being braver than his imagination. You don't win, he spits. You don't even know the rules. June lifts the medallion with 2 fingers, shows the crest to the failing light. Maybe the rules needed new players. The siren they all forgot the county owns whines in the distance. The deputy, the ambulance, the kind of response small places muster when they remember they are communities, not fiefdoms. The wind cools as if the storm itself listens for what comes next. Caleb steps beside June. Rook leans against his leg, panting hard, proud. Sheriff Danner's eyes are steady on Lang. Victor Lang, he says, words clipped and careful. You're under arrest for assault and for interfering with an investigation. As for the rest, we'll let the paper and a judge enjoy those ledgers. Lang's laugh is a cracked plate. You think newspapers are what they were? No, Danner says. But 1,000 screenshots are still heavier than your thumb on a scale. He nods at Caleb. Hope you made copies. Caleb nods. Phone's been recording since we walked in. Cloud's a good place to grow trees, turns out. Lang's smile dies for real this time. They take statements until the light drains and the sky blinks stars through the tatters of cloud. The deputy bags the binder, the phone, the small metal box that Doc fished from the spring pan with tongs like he was serving Sunday supper. Sheriff Danner rides back to town behind Lang, whose silence finally fits him. June sits on the truck's tailgate. Doc Reeves checks her, listens to that steady drum inside her. Strong, he says, like his mother. Or her, June replies, and a smile visits her mouth for the first time all day. Caleb fixes the spring house door. It's not his job. but hands need tasks after adrenaline has abandoned them. Rook collapses at his feet with a sigh that says he'll sleep like he's earned it. When the sirens fade and the insects remember their chorus, Doc sets a hand on Caleb's shoulder. "You did good," he says. Now comes the paperwork and the patience. Caleb nods, eyes on the dark line of his fields. And the bills. Doc's mouth quirks. Some bills get paid in ways you don't see coming. He's right sooner than any of them expect. 2 weeks later, the county paper runs the story above the fold. The Whitmore Trust diverted funds meant for clinics. Names, dates, scans of signatures, Sheriff Danner on record. The state attorney steps in. A judge orders more boxes opened. Agnes Whitmore, gray hair, blue eyes, steps forward and confirms what June said. She is June's grandmother. She was cut from the will for marrying love, not money. She kept the medallion against a day when the family forgot its soul and needed to be reminded. June testifies. Her boyfriend is found. Alive, hiding, terrified, ready to talk. The clinic gets a lifeline. The county holds its breath and lets it out. And one morning, when mist still clings to the fence lines and the world looks washed new, a black sedan and a second, less lordly SUV roll up Caleb's drive. Not Lang, not any of his kind. Agnes Whitmore herself steps out, small and fierce in a coat the color of stormlight. With her, a lawyer who looks like a person, not a threat. "Mr. Hart," Agnes says, offering a hand that has held generations. "I'm told your roof leaks." He blinks. "Sometimes it waits for me to start coffee first." "You helped my granddaughter," Agnes says. "You helped my great-grandchild." She looks at the fields, at the house, at Rook wagging with earned dignity. "You helped my name try to deserve itself." She reaches into her bag and produces a letter. "I can't mend what men like Lang broke overnight, but I can do one thing right now." It isn't a check she hands him. It's a deed. 2 parcels that border his, clear of liens, long disputed. The note at the bottom makes his throat close. A grant for services rendered, for courage not for sale. Funds for repairs, too. Enough zeros to make a porch light burn year-round. Caleb looks up, eyes hot in ways he doesn't permit often. "I didn't do it to be paid." "I know," Agnes says. "That's why this belongs to you." June steps from the SUV. She's rounder now and softer too, where fear has been cut away. She hugs Caleb, long and careful. Rook leans into her leg and sighs. "We're family whether we like it or not," she says, smiling into his shirt. Caleb laughs, surprised by the shape of the sound. "I like it fine." Months later, when the baby's cry splits his kitchen and then settles into that milk-drunk coo that tells you the world can reset if you let it, Caleb stands in the doorway and listens. He feels the farm under his boots like a promise renewed. The roof doesn't leak. The fences stand a little straighter. The banknote is gone from the fridge, replaced by a photo. June, the baby, Agnes, Doc Reeves with his stethoscope and a pie someone insisted he take, Sheriff Danner pretending to hate pictures, and Caleb in the back, Rook's head lifted into his hand. He steps onto the porch under a sky clean as a scrubbed sink. Stars. The good kind. The kind that pin you to something bigger. He doesn't think about luck. He thinks about choices and storms, about a medallion with a rooted tree and 3 small stars, and about how roots drink where they please until someone draws a map that respects them. If this story found you tonight, if you felt the pull of it the way the wind pulls at a loose shutter, stay. There are more like it. Hit subscribe. Watch the next one we lined up for you. Another night, another porch light, another ordinary person who finds out they are not a footnote. Tell us where you're watching from. Tell us what crest you carry that reminds you to be brave, because sometimes a reward is measured in acres and dollars. And sometimes it's a roof that doesn't leak under a hard rain, a baby that sleeps, and a dog snoring like a promise at your feet. Watch the next video and don't forget to subscribe.